It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
All right, here's another interview question. This is from Clef10 on YouTube. He says, people say you shouldn't ask about PTO in the interview process, but that's a major factor to me, like with his family being out of state. So how and when is the right time to ask about these type of policies, these type of considerations?
I think it's one of those things that after the interview is going really well and you're getting to the verge of even maybe you've already started getting an offer from them, or it's in such a comfortable way that you can bring that up. Because here's the thing, I don't think you lead with that. I mean, because it does when you're starting, and I hate to sound, because it does sound like, man, they don't want to give me time off. No, they want to give you time off. They just worried. I think what most employers are worried about, if you're already asking about time off, like, this person hadn't even started working here, and they're already trying to figure out how they can get out of working here. Right. And that can be a narrative or a visual you don't want to plant in their head when you're trying to stand out. But if you do get far enough into the process, be honest about what your family commitments and other things are, because I think that's the appropriate time after you've kind of warmed them up that they're already daydreaming about, man, it will be great when we get this person in the office. They're going to be the perfect person to fill this position. When you start getting into what my salary will be, what will the benefits, it might be important to bring that stuff up then. Because look, whenever I'm interviewing people and they say, look, I'm excited to start working, I'd love to come, do this. But we planned a family vacation, or we planned a trip over to New Zealand, and it's going to take 2 weeks out of my life, and we've planned this for the last 5 years. It is so weird to ask a brand new employer if I can take 2 weeks off, starting in September. I think they would rather hear that in the beginning, and instead of you springing it on them after you accept the position, and just be honest and be like, and then, just like in the process, you could be like, look, I have out-of-state family. We're raising these kids all by ourselves. We don't have anybody here. So we're probably around the holidays, around Christmas or Thanksgiving, I'm probably going to need to take a week off every year just to go visit them. But I will make sure that I take my computer, I work from home, or I can work on the road to make sure I'm checking in. You can do things to mitigate the situation, but you want to get them so warmed up to you that they're daydreaming about you joining the team. But that's probably when. And then just make it more of an honest discussion, a transparent discussion on what your expectations are, and make sure it fits in. Now, if they tell you right then and there, no way, no how, because I worked at a company, well, I didn't work, a company in the building that I had one of my businesses in. I remember the poor receptionist had to take a cordless phone into the bathroom. And I remember thinking, that is a horrible indicator that this place might not really appreciate their employees if they're taking cordless phones into the restroom. That's a weird thing just in general. The same thing probably could be an indicator if you, after you've warmed them up, you've done everything appropriate, but you just, because you want to be transparent, you get into those discussions and they tell you no way, no how. That's probably a pretty good indicator that you're going to need to really think about, is this the place I want to work? Because I always think paid time off is one of those things where it shouldn't really matter. I think most employers, if it's, at least this is the way I look at it, I'm not really actively looking at how much time employees are taking off, because I'm assuming I can tell my employees who are engaged in trying to make this firm a better place. And then it's over the years, I don't know of anybody we have in the workforce right now, but I have had employees in the past where you just could tell they don't want to be here. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. So I don't think most employment opportunities, if you're doing and you're carrying the weight you're supposed to, it's just not that big of a deal. That's just a policy. It's sitting in the background. But it's definitely something you could bring up after you've warmed them up. Don't put it on the front end, because if you haven't warmed them up, you might run them off. It's kind of bringing it back to dating. I knew I wasn't the best looking guy when I was out in the dating pool, but I knew I was funnier than most guys. So I always was trying to, when I would be in a group of people, tell enough jokes so that maybe you would catch the eye of somebody who is, and I think you can do the same thing with your employment. You don't lead, because, with your insecurities or the things that you think are negatives, and asking for time off right from the get-go might push this thing in the ditch before you even had your opportunity.
It's funny how many dating parallels there are to jobs, because it's true. Like, you wouldn't, on the first date, you're not going to talk about, when you want to get married.
Yeah,
or like
because you'll
how many
come off
kids you
feeling
wanna
like, oh my
have.
gosh, you're that crazy person.
Yeah, so,
but
like-
even that's a reasonable thing you want to talk about.
Exactly. You have to talk about it at some point, right? If you're looking for a long-term relationship. But and same thing with PTO. That's not a weird question at all. Like I wouldn't be weird if somebody asked me that, but like yeah, on the first interview at the end when I say, "Do you have any questions for me?" and the first thing you say is PTO, that's kind of a turn off.
Well,
It's true.
we're kind of a financial order of operations type place. Go to moneyguy.com/resources and we have our financial order of operations. But I think that this would be like a job order of operations is that know the time and place to ask for those things. And it's definitely not on the front
Yeah,
side.
it's just a little down the road.